Good morning. It's Thursday, March 2nd. This morning I want to discuss the situation that the Supreme Court has taken on. The Supreme Court is now reviewing the case of President Biden's tuition refund assistance program, or whatever they want to call it. And the Supreme Court is looking at the nuances of certain words. And they're asking the lawyers to explore hypothetical scenarios. And in my mind, there shouldn't be this many hypothetical scenarios that we have to look at. I believe that all these people who are foolish enough to take out these loans with these exorbitant interest rates have to pay some penalty for being that stupid. I think when you look at the tuition assistance programs in this country, we should have originally stated that the interest rate should be fixed. No matter who gives you that loan, they can only charge you X interest rates, 3%, 4%. Instead of situations where there's gouging, where the interest rates might be 12 or 14%. And maybe these people are not eligible for loans. Maybe they can't really pay these loans back. Maybe they shouldn't be given these loans in the first place. But in any event, I am against the tuition refund program in a sense because we're just giving money away to people who did not act intelligently. I think if you got a student loan and you end up paying an exorbitant interest rate, and on top of that you were in debt for maybe $100,000 or $150,000, and you're getting some forgiveness, you owe something to the people that are forgiving you. So I think all the forgiveness should come with some condition that says you're going to help pay for that forgiveness. Maybe you're going to do work for that. I give you forgiveness of $20,000. Maybe you owe the government a year's worth of service for that money. That would be fair in my mind. It would be like you were getting paid to do something. And the other thing is that the stupidity that exists in this country, because we did not take it upon ourselves to organize the student loan business, to put it under control, to have a fixed rate and everything. So I don't know why the states are complaining. Why didn't they step in and do something about it on their own? They were allowing the gougers to work in their states. Now, if the state doesn't want the federal government interfering in their business, then they ought to do something. The state should be held responsible for the thievery that is going on in their states by the companies in their states that are charging horrendous interest rates to people for student loans. There shouldn't be a whole bunch of different scenarios that we're looking at. Student loans should be a fixed item. You want to borrow money? You got it. You're paying 3%, you're paying 4%, and that's it. And if you can't pay it back, then you have to work it off in some way, shape, or form. So you go to the government, the state government, the federal government, the city government, and you ask them for help, and that's fine. That's fine. And in return for that help, you do something. You volunteer for some program. You're willing to work a year or 2 or 5 years for some organization in order to pay the debt back. But you shouldn't get a free ride because you decided you wanted to go to college. And you decided you wanted to go to the best college, and you weren't worried about the cost. You thought it'd be okay, I'll graduate with $250,000 in debt, and I'll be able to pay it off because I'll get a great job and everything. But it doesn't work that way all the time. You don't necessarily always get a great job. So these justices are scrutinizing whether Biden had the authority to waive hundreds of billions of dollars in debt without the explicit approval of Congress, which decides how taxpayer money is spent. So now they're dumping this whole situation on the congressman. Do they want Congress to step up and say Biden can't put his remission plan into effect? I don't think so. I'm not so sure. Because in Biden's mind, this is a threat to our society in some way, shape, or form, and he's responsible for our society. And there probably are plenty of congressmen who are loyal to their states and not loyal to the country necessarily. And so, if it's a big business in their state that's lending this money, and that business, of course, is giving them some dark money, some campaign funding, well, of course, then the congressmen are going to be on the side of the business in their cousin and ignore the rip-off that those businesses have been perpetrating all these years, right? So this is a nasty business, but I'm not so sure that the Supreme Court is in any position to override it. I bet you there's nothing in the Constitution that says anything about student loans. I don't even think the Constitution talks about loans at all. So there'll be some wording in the Constitution that can be twisted to make the decision one way or the other. What will they twist in the Constitution to make student loan forgiveness illegal, right? How are they going to figure that out? I don't know. But when people look ahead, which they should have been doing when they got this kid in high school, they look at a child in high school who's a talent, and he's going to go to the best school. At that point in time, will they start saving the money for this kid? And probably not, because probably they can't. They don't earn enough to save enough. How many people can afford to send a kid to college at $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000 a semester? Huh? How many? It's a small universe. And I'll tell you another thing. We only have a 25 or 30% college rate anyhow. We don't have a lot of college graduates running around in this country, right? Our graduation rate is pretty low. Our college attendance is pretty low. And if you had a talented kid, maybe he belongs in trade school and not college. So I think the whole thing with student loan forgiveness is to step in the right direction, handled improperly, and it needs a huge overhaul. So I would be okay if Biden had a methodology where the student who got the forgiveness was paying something back to this country immediately, a couple of years of service or something like that. So I leave you with those crazy thoughts this morning, something that shouldn't even be in the Supreme Court at this point. Have a great day. Bye.